All right, ready for another deep dive? You with me? Today, we're going to be looking at cell therapy.
Exciting stuff.
It is those cutting edge treatments that are like changing medicine, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we got this brand new press release, and it's about this partnership. It's making people wonder about the future of the whole field, you know?
Yeah, and this is not just any team up. This brings Celularity, known for, get this, placental cells,
Really?
and BlueSphere Bio. They're developing some really cool T-cell therapies for leukemia.
Placental cells? Okay, that's not really what comes to mind when I think about like advanced medical treatments. What's the deal with that?
Right. It's pretty wild. Placentas, they're usually just, tossed after birth,
Yeah.
but they're like a gold mine of these super versatile cells. They can actually turn into a bunch of different cell types.
Oh, wow.
So they're perfect for this regenerative medicine stuff. Plus, they're easy to get, so it's a sustainable source for these therapies.
So they're kind of like, what's the word? Cellular chameleons.
Yeah.
They can like adapt and become different types of cells depending on what's needed.
That's a great way to put it. And here's where it gets really interesting. These placental cells are also allogeneic. It means they can come from a donor. They don't have to come from the patient.
Huh.
Opens up some crazy possibilities.
Like what?
Well, think about it. Allogeneic therapies can be manufactured like on a big scale and stored until they're needed.
Okay.
That's a big deal. It means we can bypass that whole thing of harvesting cells from each patient,
Oh, yeah.
which takes forever and costs a fortune. So these treatments could be way more accessible and affordable down the line.
That's a game changer. No more waiting around for like personalized cell production. But hold on a sec. If these cells are from a donor, doesn't that mean there's a chance of rejection? You know, like the body's immune system attacking the foreign cells.
That's a great question, and it's something researchers are working on.
Okay.
One of the awesome things about placental cells is they're less likely to trigger immune rejection than other cell types.
Oh, really?
Plus, the new immunosuppressive drugs are helping to reduce that risk even more.
So we're talking about off-the-shelf cell therapies, ready to go, and maybe less likely to be rejected. This could change how we treat a whole bunch of conditions, not just leukemia, right?
Exactly. Huge potential, but let's zoom in on BlueSphere Bio for a minute.
Okay.
They're working with acute myelogenous leukemia, or AML.
Right.
Now, this is a really aggressive type of leukemia.
Yeah.
Current treatments, they can be rough
Yeah.
and not always that successful.
Yeah, AML's a tough one. That's why BlueSphere Bio's work is so important. They're developing two different types of T-cell therapies, right?
Yeah.
And they're using some pretty complex science to do it.
Oh, for sure. One way they're doing it is with T-cell receptors, TCRs.
Okay.
They're like little sensors on the surface of T cells,
Uh-huh.
and you can engineer them to target specific proteins on cancer cells.
Got it.
In this case, BlueSphere is focusing on a protein called minor histocompatibility antigen-1, or HA1.
So imagine you have these T cells. They're like the immune system's special forces, right?
Yeah,
And you give them these TCRs that are basically programmed to hunt down and destroy cells with this HA1 protein.
exactly, like giving them a mission to take out the enemy. Their other approach, it goes after a specific mutation in a gene called NPM1.
Okay.
This mutation is usually found in AML cells.
Gotcha.
So by attacking that mutation, they can zero in on the cancerous cells and leave the healthy ones alone.
So basically, they're turning the body's own immune system into like a super trained cancer fighting machine.
That's it. They're using the power of the immune system to fight cancer in a really targeted way.
Wow.
But here's the thing. They're aiming to give their first patient in the HA1 program a dose in the first half of 2025. And they expect to file an investigational new drug application, an IND, for the mutant NPM1 therapy in the second quarter of 2025.
Wow, that's soon. That means they're close to testing these therapies in people. An IND, that's a big step towards getting a new treatment on the market. But why is Celularity involved in the manufacturing? I thought they were focused on regenerative medicine.
That's where the strategy of this partnership comes in.
Okay.
Manufacturing cell therapies, it's complicated and it's expensive.
Yeah,
You need special facilities, equipment, experts.
right.
It can be a huge roadblock for smaller companies like BlueSphere.
So it's like Celularity's this manufacturing giant, letting companies like BlueSphere focus on the research and development side while they handle making these super complicated therapies.
Exactly. It's really smart. BlueSphere gets to use Celularity's infrastructure and expertise. Save them time and money.
Makes sense.
And Celularity, they get a new way to make money, and they get a stronger position in the cell therapy market, which is growing super fast.
It's a win-win, but what does it mean for the people fighting AML? That's what really matters, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's early, but the potential is huge. If these therapies work in clinical trials, they would give new hope to patients, especially those who didn't respond to the traditional treatments.
And remember, they're coming at this from two different angles. One targeting the HA1 protein, the other going after that NPM1 mutation.
Right, and that's important because it means more patients could benefit. AML is not a one-size-fits-all disease.
Right.
Having multiple therapies means there's a better chance of finding an effective treatment for more people.
It's like having different weapons to fight a tough enemy. So what should we be watching for as these trials go on? What are the signs of success?
Well, safety and effectiveness are always the top priorities.
Of course.
We want to see that these therapies are safe for patients and that they actually work.
Meaning?
Meaning they lead to more people going into remission, people living longer, or both.
Right. Are there like specific things we should be looking at?
Definitely. For the HA1 therapy, which is given with a stem cell transplant, we'll be watching things like engraftment rates, how well the transplant itself works, and the rate of graft versus host disease.
Graft versus host disease. That's when the donated cells attack the patient's body, right?
That's it. It's a serious complication that can happen with stem cell transplants, so keeping that risk low is super important.
Got it. And for that NPM1 targeted therapy, the one using the patient's own modified cells, what about that one?
With that trial, we're going to watch closely how well those engineered T cells grow and survive in the body after they're put in.
Okay.
We'll also want to see how well they're finding and destroying those AML cells.
So the big question is, can these therapies really change things for people with AML?
Yeah.
Can they help people live longer or even cure them?
That's what we hope for. But even if these first trials don't show a huge increase in how long people live, they can still give us really valuable information. Information that'll help researchers make better therapies in the future.
Makes sense.
It's all about building on what we learned, one step at a time.
This is cutting-edge science in action. We're basically seeing a whole new era of medicine being born.
Absolutely. And this collaboration between Celularity and BlueSphere Bio, it's a perfect example of how this field's changing. It's not just about the science now, it's about creating a system where innovation can happen and these groundbreaking treatments can reach the people who need them most.
But let's be real for a second. We've talked about some of the hurdles.
Yeah.
Manufacturing complexities, quality control, intellectual property protection. What other challenges do you see in bringing these therapies to more people?
One of the biggest definitely is cost.
Yeah.
These therapies, they're incredibly expensive to develop and manufacture.
Right.
So a lot of patients just can't afford them.
That's really sad. How can we make sure these treatments aren't only for the rich?
That's the big question. And the good news is the industry knows it's a problem. There are a lot of different things people are trying to do to fix this, from exploring new manufacturing techniques to trying to lower costs, to coming up with new payment models that make these therapies more affordable.
So there's hope for making these treatments more available, even as the technology keeps getting better so fast.
Oh, definitely. Cell therapy is still a pretty new field.
Yeah.
There's so much potential for growth and innovation in the science and on the money side, too.
It's a really exciting time to be following this field, but let's take a minute to recap what we've learned about this partnership and what it could mean.
Great idea. Let's break it down. We've got Celularity, a company that's pioneering the use of placental cells for regenerative medicine.
Right.
They've teamed up with BlueSphere Bio, who are developing 2 cutting-edge T-cell therapies for AML, which is a very aggressive leukemia. This partnership, it shows a growing trend in cell therapy, collaborative manufacturing.
This collaboration, it lets BlueSphere focus on research and development, while Celularity, with their expertise and infrastructure, handles the tough manufacturing process.
Right. It's a win-win that could lead to faster production and lower costs, making these therapies more available. And of course, the ultimate goal is to give new hope to AML patients, especially those who haven't had success with traditional treatments. We've looked at the 2 different ways BlueSphere is approaching this.
Yeah.
One targeting the HA1 protein and the other going after the NPM1 gene mutation.
Right.
Both using the power of the immune system to fight cancer in a very targeted way.
We've also talked about the important milestones and things to watch for as these therapies move into clinical trials, stressing how important safety and effectiveness are.
And while these therapies have a lot of potential, we've talked about the challenges too. The complicated manufacturing, quality control, intellectual property protection, and the really big one, the high cost.
But even with those challenges, there's a lot of optimism. The field is changing quickly, and everyone's committed to finding solutions to make these life-saving treatments available to everyone who needs them.
It really feels like things are changing in medicine, you know?
Yeah.
We're moving away from those, like, old school treatments.
Right.
The ones that kind of just attack everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And we're moving towards these super precise cell therapies. They work with the body's immune system.
It's like we're going from hammers to scalpels, but like on a tiny level.
Exactly.
And this Celularity and BlueSphere thing, it's a perfect example of how this new era is happening.
Yeah, this partnership, it's just one example.
Yeah.
But it makes you think, right,
Yeah.
could this whole collaborative manufacturing thing be the answer?
Mm.
Could it be how we make cell therapies available to everyone?
Yeah, it could streamline production, make things cheaper, and speed up the whole development process. But we got to think about those challenges we talked about.
Yeah, for sure.
Making sure the quality is good across different companies, figuring out the intellectual property stuff, and of course, how to make these treatments affordable for everyone.
It's complicated.
Yeah, it is.
But the industry's working on it. Everyone wants to make these therapies accessible, not just for the rich.
Right.
That's what makes me hopeful about the future of this whole thing.
It's amazing to think about what could happen because of this one partnership. BlueSphere Bio, they're moving fast. They might give their first patient that HA1 therapy in the first half of 2025. So, what do you think? How different could AML treatment look in just a couple of years?
Well, if these trials go well, they could be a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
These new therapies, they could give more options to patients who haven't had luck with other treatments. Maybe people will live longer, have better outcomes.
Imagine AML not being this scary diagnosis anymore,
Yeah.
but a manageable condition with a bunch of effective treatments.
That's what we're all working towards.
Exactly. And that's why this field is so cool. It's not just about the science, it's about helping people and giving them hope.
Absolutely.
And for you listening, if you're as into biotech as we are, this is just the beginning.
Yeah.
There's so much incredible research happening right now, and we'll be here to break it down for you.
So stay tuned for more deep dives into the coolest stuff in medicine.
We'll be looking at the companies pushing the limits of what's possible. Thanks for joining us on this wild ride.
It's been great exploring the world of cell therapy with you.
Until next time.
See ya.